Good morning, everyone. It's now 8 o'clock, and we can call our Committee on Appointments to order. This is our last meeting of May. This has been a busy month, and so we just have a few items today on our agenda for appointments. So let's go ahead and get started. The first is a resolution confirming Mayor Bliss's appointment to Jeff Edwards to the Economic Development Corporation and Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved and supported. I believe this one is a new appointment, Daniel, and Jeff's appointment would fulfill actually all the openings on Brownfield, I believe, at this point. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
That carries. Thank you. Next is a resolution approving the City Commission's appointment of Evia Marshall to the Urban Agricultural Committee.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Commissioners, any comments on this this appointment?
Is this the mayor's? Did this name come through the mayor?
This is Commissioner O'Connor's appointment.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Thank you, Daniel. Hearing no other questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That carries. Thank you so much. So since we have a little bit of time today, we can go through the general list. I want to turn to both of you today to say, before we get started, as you were going through the packet and Daniel had sent the information, do you all have any updates about any particular openings that you have, or any other comments about any of the openings before I just jump into going point by point?
I do have my appointment for urban agriculture will be on the agenda next meeting.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
And I'm sending an appointment to Daniel today.
Okay, thank you. For what body is that, Commissioner?
Public safety.
Okay, great. So thank you both for those updates. I will say, as we go through this, Community Relations Commission, we do have an appointment that's been forwarded from the Office of Equity and Inclusion. It's just going through the appropriate vetting process, but we should see that one come through here. We've talked about kind of their additional steps. And then if you can continue scrolling, City Clerk. I don't have any updates about the DID, although that list is getting shorter in terms of some of the appointments, or these were reappointments. Excuse me. We just discussed Brownfield. For Civilian Appeals Board, I know Commissioner Robbins, you had mentioned you were looking at somebody, because I did have an appointment come through. But Daniel, we also talked last meeting that May is when these appointments end. Do we have anybody who will be ending, or do we need to check back in with Mr. Davis about this body as a liaison?
I can connect with Mr. Davis about these appointments.
Okay, I do have somebody who's interested, and just want to see if we do have an opening or not, so thank you for that. I don't have any updates about the Housing Appeals Board. Admittedly, I haven't gone through the PIFs that Daniel sent on Friday, so I will need to look at those. For the rest of these, I don't. Daniel, for the Monroe Tifa Board, because we have a number of these, are these ones waiting to get reappointed like the DID, or are these ones that I should circle back with the mayor?
These appointments, I believe these folks have chosen not to reapply, but
Okay.
Tim Kelly is on this is an as-needed call board, so
Okay.
I can check with him as well.
Okay, that'd be great. I don't think they were at the liaison meeting, so I know we were able to talk to some people there, but I just want to make sure for all of us, understanding there is a lot of activity going on that corridor, just with the new Corwell Health Building and some of the parks improvements. And there's another development that's happening there in Ottawa, so I want to make sure that if we do need to convene that group, we have one. For our North Quarter Improvement Authority, we still have an opening. We've onboarded 3 new people probably in the last 3 months, so our board is still kind of working on that, and then we would move forward with looking at some appointments. Commissioner Perdue just talked about public safety. For Smart Zone, one of these I know is a GRPS appointment, and then I cannot remember who the other, I think it might be another defined body who's the appointment on the Smart Zone Authority. Again, I haven't looked to see if there's any new PIFs for South Division. Commissioner Robbins, you serve on that body. and Commissioner Purdue Southtown. I think one open,
I don't serve on Southtown.
I'm sorry.
I serve on Uptown, yeah, Commissioner
yes,
Moody's on.
thank you.
Yep.
So I think one opening doesn't give me too much, too much concern. I think, obviously people can leave boards for a whole variety of reasons. Their business moves, they move, things like that. But I'll just highlight some of these corridor ones as we look at some of the PIFs. And then stormwater, Commissioner Purdue, that's yours. I know you were looking at some people, I think, for this one as well. At least if I'm remembering. For the Stormwater Oversight Commission?
Yes, I haven't seen any third waters come through for that one, so I've been holding off, but recognize that's my last remaining specific, me-specific appointment. So hope to, open to non-third ward residents, but wanted to see if we would get some third warders interested.
If, we do have a second warder who did apply, who I would highly recommend, but certainly understand you wanting to look at some third warders, so maybe.
We can talk about.
Yeah, maybe when we get back from into June or July. So, I don't know, I think that body meets every other month, if I'm correct. So, we have a little bit of time. Urban agriculture, we just had Commissioner O'Connor's appointment approved, or will be approved tonight, technically, right? Nothing's official until tonight. But we just voted to approve. The farmer's market, I know David's in the room, and he has also talked to them. This has been kind of a holding one because they haven't had, not had somebody to put forth. And once we get this probably a little bit more full, Commissioner Robbins just mentioned that, then I'd like to evaluate that, which would be an ordinance change, I believe. So we'd have to change some of that language if they're going to be unable to fill it, because I think it's been at least a year now that it hasn't been filled. Then urban forestry. City, can you scroll from there? Urban forestry. I don't have superpowers. I don't. Urban forestry, we do have one opening. And since this is various appointments, Daniel, can you remind us of, because I know we fulfilled the one for consumers as a utility. That was, I think, our last meeting with Nate Henschel, but it's evading me what this one is.
I think they could be mayor.
It's just that they're various, so sometimes.
No, my apologies. That should have been removed from,
So that was Nate's appointment?
correct.
Okay. So then I don't feel bad about forgetting because I didn't have to remember. Okay. Vital Streets, I think this is another one we could start to tackle. This was reseated. This used to have like 10 openings. And we heard from some of those individuals on the body at our last meeting. And then the West Side Corridor is, again, as I look at all of our CIAs, actually, Uptown doesn't have any openings right now. Is that correct, Daniel? I thought we still had an opening on the bid.
Correct.
Okay. All right. This is just your fingers, your scrolling fingers are moving too fast. Sorry, I didn't see it, so, okay. But where was Uptown? Hold on, go back. Okay. I know how did I miss that? Okay, so Uptown bid, but Uptown CIA, which Commissioner Purdue sits on, is now fully seated, so that's great. One, I just want to say thank you to our liaisons who came to our liaison meeting, to all of you and our other colleagues for working on these openings. It's not just to get them filled, but certainly staff spends time on this information. There are decisions to be made. It takes some time to onboard, especially if you're only meeting, every other month or quarterly. So I think we're sitting in a really good spot as it relates to our appointments. The ones that I would continue to highlight are CAB because of the appointment terms in May, and then our Housing Appeals Board and Urban Forestry, you said was good, right? But Urban Ag is the farmer's market, most likely. All right. Were you?
We do have a
Mr.
couple.
City Clerk?
Yeah, we do have a couple petitions or petition communications
Oh.
for tonight too.
Thank you. Can you read those aloud?
Daniel, which one is Mr. Zimmerman resigning from?
He is resigning from the He's resigning from the Urban Agricultural Committee.
Okay.
And then Javier Cervantes is resigning from Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
Okay.
That's one of the easier ones for us to fill. Usually we have a,
We have a
Upper-
list of individuals who are interested in Parks and Rec, so we should, for Mr. Zimmerman, what is his appointment? Whose appointment is he? That sounds bad, but what appointment does he represent?
It was Commissioner Knight's appointment.
Okay, so we can follow up with Commissioner Knight. And then also for Parks and Rec, actually, Mr. Marquardt, would you come forward? I know that this one is, I believe, also various appointments. I don't think we necessarily highlight, we try to have a balance of wards. I know in the past, we probably wanted to focus on first warders that were in the southern part of First Ward, and maybe we were a little light on third warders, but can I have you elaborate on that of the current body?
Yep, so we are, is this working? We are looking for third ward representation right now. You will see in communications this evening that the GRPS representative is departing because of a new job outside of GRPS, so we'll need to fill that appointment.
So he's specifically the GRPS representative?
He is.
Okay, so then that's something for us to remember? Okay.
Yep. But we are looking for third ward representation. That has been lacking since Chris, I forget his last name, chose to step down just in the last 6 to 8 months.
But Javier is the only one that we have open right now, the GRPS, I believe, because I'm not showing
Is
any
that
other
correct?
openings on here. Okay,
Okay, yeah.
but something to think about, because again, I do think, we don't know when people are going to roll off, but,
Yeah,
so you'll work with GRPS to identify who their next representative is?
Correct.
Versus us identifying some names, so, okay.
correct. Yep.
Well, then that's one thing we can cross off our list, so.
Very good.
And thank you, Mr. Cervantes, for your service on Parks and Rec. And Mr.
Absolutely.
Zimmerman.
Yeah, he'll be missed. Thanks.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, colleagues, any other updates for the good of this body?
One real
Absolutely.
quick item. I think we had a PIF come through for West Side Corridor Improvement Authority, didn't we? I think it was Miss Fitzgerald. I could be wrong.
In this last packet?
I thought so.
Okay, I haven't looked at it, so I will trust that we did.
I think I saw that too.
Thank you.
Correct. Yep, Kennedy Fitzgerald has applied
All right, and so.
from the first ward.
I think what we should do is, if we could forward that, the mayor usually likes to interview those ones because this is a mayoral appointment. Could you forward that one to the mayor, Daniel? Absolutely. Thank you. And just a reminder that we're only getting them, was that the only body that they applied for, or would we need to confirm eligibility?
I have not yet confirmed
Okay.
with, or the liaison has not yet confirmed that they are eligible.
Got
but
it, okay.
They are a first ward representative, so hopefully
Okay.
that does apply.
Okay, yeah, usually the Economic Development Office for CIAs, they would review it, make sure it meets the boundaries and all those sorts of pieces, because it's not just the west side is vast, and so we've had that too, where it's like, that doesn't fit into the corridor geography, so if you'll do that, and then check in with the mayor, so that might take a couple of weeks, so. All right, hearing nothing else, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 8:14. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. We will call fiscal committee to order here at 8:30. Thank you all for being here. We'll kick our agenda off this morning with a resolution approving an amendment to the interlocal agreement between Grand Valley State University and the City of Grand Rapids for extending dispatch services for an additional 3 years in an amount not to exceed $5,563.62.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Deputy Chief Rogers, do you want to just give us a quick rundown of this?
Sure. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is an agreement we've had since 2018. It benefits both us and Grand Valley State University, as they do have law enforcement officers downtown on their campus. And again, it just continues to be a great relationship and working together.
Very good. Colleagues, any questions? All right, hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 2, resolution recognizing Tailor-Made Reentry as a local civic organization.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Mr. Strahm?
Yes, I'm not sure if we have anyone that's representing the organization. You could come up to the podium to be recognized. When we receive these letters, the Department of Law reviews the current status with the state of Michigan. If the organization is in good status, we bring the item forward and recommend approval from this fiscal committee. What the organization is asking for is essentially recognition to do some charitable gaming in an effort to raise funds for their charitable service organization. So thank you for being here. I don't know if the committee will have any questions for you, but we appreciate your presence.
Very good. Good morning. If you'd like to add anything or share anything, you're welcome to do so.
Oh, no, I'm just very happy to be here, and thank you for being willing to even look at my proposals.
Very good. Colleagues, any questions?
I just was very moved by the letter of just the origin story of the organization, and the work that you do is really, really important. So very happy to support you however we can.
Thank you.
All right, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, item 3 is a resolution recognizing the GR Trans Foundation as a local civic organization.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported.
All right, similarly, we received a letter on May 3rd to Mayor Bliss. I'm not sure if we have representation here. Please, if you would like to come up to the podium, thank you for submitting. We have reviewed the submission. We've checked the state status with this nonprofit organization, and all things seem to be in order. If the committee has any questions for the representative, we're bringing this forward with a recommendation for approval.
Very good. Good morning. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you'd like to introduce yourself and share anything, you're welcome to do so.
My name is Zimon Kedak, and I'm the executive director and one of the co-founders of the organization. My pronouns are they, them, and just thank you for having this in front of you today. So appreciate it.
Very good. Colleagues, any questions?
Thank you for your work as well, and
Likewise.
thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. No further questions. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you so much. And good luck to both of you. Item 4, resolution allocating $14,620.24 of GVSU's Belknap Property Voluntary Payment Funds to the neighbors of Belknap Lookout for community benefits.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Santi, good morning, sir.
Hello, Commissioners. How are you all doing today?
Yes, sir.
This is a community benefit that's been around since 2006. It's a partnership between the City of Grand Rapids, Grand Valley State University, and the neighbors of Belknap, known as Noble. Every year, the GVSU figures out what taxes they would have paid on property that they own in that community, and for housing, for homes they own and they rent out, and then that money is given to the city, and through that agreement, the money is given back to the Belknap Neighborhood Association for various projects that would benefit the community there. So we're seeking your approval for this amount of $14,000 and a few hundreds of dollars, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Very good. Colleagues, questions for Mr. Kane? All right.
No question, but a comment.
Please.
I just wanted to say, this agreement, I think at the time, 2006, was really groundbreaking, and I just really appreciate Noble's work, Grand Valley's work, our ability, and my predecessor, Commissioner Kelly, who really led this effort. So thank you.
All right, no further questions. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item 6, resolution authorizing a $15,000 agreement with Reyes and Kelly Innovations LLC for garden and fruit tree maintenance and programming at the MLK Martin Luther King Park.
I think you skipped item 5. Is that okay?
Was that?
Item 5.
Oh, I'm sorry. Got a little ahead of myself. Resolution authorizing various agreements for implementation of the 2023 Grow 1000 Youth Employment Program.
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported. Ms. Bohach, good morning.
Good morning. This is an annual authorization that we get for the Grow 1000 program. We're going into the 4th year, and Ms. Shannon Harris is overseeing the program. All the work this year is going to be maintained internally as opposed to with community partners who helped facilitate the actual administration in the past. But these are contracts that we'll enter into for various components of the program. The youth mentors, additional training. We have pre-employment training as well as Shannon has devised a whole series of trainings on Fridays specifically for professional development.
Very good. Colleagues, questions for Ms. Bohach? All right, excited to see this program continuing. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 6 is the resolution authorizing a $15,000 agreement with Reyes and Kelly Innovations LLC for garden and fruit tree maintenance and programming at MLK Park.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Mr. Marquardt, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is a continuation of the work that we've been doing in Martin Luther King Park with Alita Kelly. This agreement is with her new organization that better aligns with the work that is being done. So we're excited to see this work continue in partnership with the work that we're doing at the summer day camps as well, and bringing some really great teaching and learning opportunities to the kids and the families within this area.
Very good. Colleagues, questions about this one?
Just thank you for all the work that it took behind the scenes to get here, to make sure that we're ready to approve this and we can get a head start and make sure that we're ready for gardening season. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
I just wanted to say the same thing. I know that there was a lot of work that was done behind the scenes and meetings, and so I appreciate that. And then, I really think continuing to create these spaces as we make these larger capital investments, like in the lodge, then people really have this regular, reoccurring, coming here, having these good experiences. So thanks so much, David.
You're welcome.
All right, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 7, resolution authorizing $60,000 agreement with Baxter Community Center to provide summer camp services at Joe Taylor Park.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported.
Great. So this is the 3rd year in which we are doing summer camp in partnership with Baxter Neighborhood. They've, of course, have the facility right there next to Joe Taylor Park, and so they're a natural partner with us. They've been doing great work in partnership with the City of Grand Rapids and providing the 4th summer day camp site, and so we're excited to proceed with this work again this year.
Excellent. Any questions, colleagues? All right, hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 8, resolution approving a 3-year parking operation and maintenance agreement with the Grand Rapids Public Museum related to the Grand Rapids Public Museum parking facility, which includes full cost recovery measures and a $16,980 management fee.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Mr. Nairmore?
Good morning, Commissioners. So Mobile GR and Parking Services operated the public museum lot since 2006. This is a 3-year amendment, or excuse me, a new 3-year agreement with them. Nothing has changed other than the management fee has gone up a couple percentage points because our costs have gone up. And this is mutually agreed upon by both parties, and we provide a budget to them every year that they approve as well. And this is recommended to you at the May 4th Mobile GR Commission meeting.
Very good. Colleagues, questions? All right, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 9, resolution approving a 3-year parking operation and maintenance agreement with the Convention Arena Authority related to DeVos Place parking facility, which includes full cost recovery measures and a $26,250 management fee.
So moved.
Support.
This is a second of our routine so this is another 3-year extension. Nothing really has changed from this. We've been operating this one for the Convention and Arena Authority since 2007. This was also recommended at the Mobile GR Commission at their May 4th meeting, as well as the Convention and Arena Authority Board at their May 5th meeting.
Very good. Any questions? All right, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 10, resolution approving a 3-year parking operation and maintenance agreement with Kent County related to 601 Ottawa Surface Parking Lot, which includes cost recovery measures and a $3,000 management fee.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported.
So this is the third of these items that are on the agenda before you. This one is a little bit different. We modified this one with the Department of Law because Kent County wishes to offer monthly parking at this facility. So there's a new management fee for being able to do the administration and the costs associated with that in the amount of $3,000. This has been mutually agreed upon by both parties as well.
Very good, colleagues. All right. Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 11, resolution authorizing a budget substitution for traffic signal modernization at the intersections of Division Avenue with Lion Street and Monroe Center Street in the amount of $680,000.
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported.
So this one, we're trying to capitalize on an existing Vital Streets project that the engineering department is managing on Division Street. So we wanted to make sure that we were modernizing all of the signals in the corridors. So 2 of those signals, there was not funding in the current scope of the project. So we're looking to take some unused streets capital funding to apply that to the project to be able to do that while it's all under construction.
Very good, colleagues. All right, hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 12, resolution authorizing a budget substitution for the Wedge Lot redesign project in the amount of $380,196.62.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported.
This is providing the funding from our capital fund to be able to fund the project that you all approved at the May 9th meeting, awarding to Nagel Construction. And then this actually includes the construction cost plus the purchase of new parking access revenue control equipment.
Colleagues, any questions? I can ask a couple, actually. I know we approved this at the last meeting. I'm still, as the more I think about it, I've heard some conversation. I, like you, I think, really like surface parking lots because they can be other things someday. $380,000 for a surface parking lot seems like a significant amount of revenue to do that project. And then, I know it was up for sale previously and that deal fell apart. And I just wondered, had it ever went back out for relist and an opportunity for other folks to come bid on it?
So based on where the city currently is with our other projects, we've been working with the Economic Development Office. We probably will plan to entertain that, but we still believe that there's a payback of 3.5 to 4 years on this. And within the current development cycle, it will return the costs, and then the equipment can also be repurposed elsewhere during the course of that project. So the plan is that we would be doing that in partnership with the Economic Development Office, but currently, right now, that would not be, the plan is not to do that in the immediate future.
But it didn't go back out to market after the last deal fell apart. So, I guess this seems a bit, as I think about this more, a bit cart before the horse. So, especially with the 3-year payoff cycle on this, that, has there been any inclination to potentially just put it back out to market for 90 days to see if there's any additional, before we come off capital reserve funds on this project, if there was?
So we are, good question, Commissioner. So a couple things. One, there's still a huge demand currently for parking. Monthly parking, event parking, everything else, and we're seeing that today. Right now, it's not able to be used for that because it becomes free after a certain portion, and this allows us to expand a little bit of the capacity, which we do have parking capital reserves to be able to do that. We could do that in the future, but our belief right now, based on the market and based on what we heard from the previous developer and where we're seeing developments in the community, that this parcel is extremely constrained for where it is for the development, and that it's not the priority for us to move that forward with development at this time. So we believe that adding the parking and being able to capitalize on it for the next few years so that we can wait for the development cycle to take place is the most advantageous process. Because we're hearing from a lot of community partners that they want more monthly parking, they want more event parking, they want more visitor parking. This allows us to be able to do this in a very high visible area.
Okay. Very good. No further questions? All right, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 13, ordinance amending Section 1 of the Budget Ordinance 2022-13 for fiscal year 123, Amendment 14.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Colleagues, any questions about any of the items on the Budget Ordinance? Ms. Claren, is there anything you'd like to explain?
The only thing notable, we have some cleanup items from the parks, between the Parks Operating Fund and their millage fund, a couple grants, and then one thing I will note is we are using the remainder of our contingent balance of $1.4 million related to design of that relocation of 201 Market facility to the Scribner property. So that's what's going on.
All right. Colleagues, questions about any of the items on the Budget Ordinance?
I don't.
All right. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 14 is our bid list resolution for May 23, 2023.
Support?
Moved and supported. Colleagues, is there questions about any of the items on the bid list this morning?
No, sir.
I have one related to the employee class and compensation study. I feel like we just did that, 2016. We've continually been updating things, but $345,000 to do a review seems like a significant amount of money over the course of 3 years.
Sure. Desiree, or let's see if our HR department wants to come up. We have committed to examining each of our positions ever so often, but I'll let Desiree fill in the blanks here. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning. And so I think this is close to, or actually maybe a little bit cheaper than what we paid last time. I think last time it was $275, or 75,000. So this is close to, after this many years, I think it's pretty close to the price.
But the,
I guess I mean,
Yeah.
not just the price, it's the necessity of
Oh.
this, as well as, I mean, I look at the bid tab, and MGT, who the bid is going to, was the highest of the 4 people on the bid list.
Sure.
So I know sometimes we make decisions about quality, but it seems like there's 3 other people who went through the RFQ and got to the RFP, and now we picked the highest bidder. There seems a little incongruent with what we're doing here, so.
So they are the best person to do the job. They have the most experience with the government class comps. And we had a team that looked at it, and they out of the other groups, the one that was the closest, they actually did not have a deep bench. It was like 2 people for that entire organization. And this company actually, and they're going to actually give us support after the study is over. A year after it's completed, we'll still have support from this organization as well to implement the class comp. And the last time we did the class comp, it was through Siegel Waters, and it was very controversial, and we had a lot of errors that were done in the study because it's very detailed, and it's very personal, obviously, to people when you're doing a class comp study. But they are the best of the 4 that we received bids from to do this study.
and Desiree, just to, from an administrative perspective, I know one of the things the city manager is concerned with is keeping our positions competitive with the market, because we are, I mean, it's a competitive market out there. We want to get the best people. So that's the other reason we've fallen into doing a cadence of reexamining our positions ever so often.
And totally, it's irresponsible somewhat to have waited this long to do another study. We were hoping to get this in, because you should be doing it, every 3 years or so, and we are far behind. And so we're going to be looking for recommendations from them, because the goal is, and what we presented to Civil Service Board, I think in 2018 or 19, that we were going to look at these classifications on a rolling year. And so they would look at like a third or a third of them this year, and then the next year and the following year. But we will be taking the recommendations from the vendor of who they should do first, second, and third. And Molly is correct, Ms. Claren, in regards to there's a lot of compression, and we noticed that with the last study, that between the management jobs and the APA jobs, there's just a lot of compression, and we're having trouble with succession planning in the organization because of it. So people that are in some jobs don't promote to the other job because there's barely any increase to do that. Yes.
Sassi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had the opportunity to be on civil service during the last compensation study, not as a commissioner, but now serve on civil service. I would say back at that time, it had been more than 20 years since we had done a classification study, and I think there was a lot of work that needed to be done. That certainly was too long of a time frame. At that time, we did talk about putting this on a regular schedule, so I do want to bring that up from my notes and from my experiences of what was planned. I do think it would be good to get to know what that schedule is sort of moving forward, because we're obviously going to have some succession with Ms. Rouget retiring from the city, so I want to make sure that happens. And then what I would also say is, just want to affirm those pieces. We've received a number of requests for review, and I would say we never thought that the evaluation of job descriptions was going to go away, but we have seen that increase. And so what I do hope, and we probably haven't quantified this, and I don't if John was here, he'd probably do it. But really looking at how much time we're spending really doing some of these classifications one-to-one, which is taking up some more time. So while we might not know, while the cost is, significant, what we don't know and what would be good to know for this body is the amount of time we would save internally from the other classifications that we're doing right now, kind of one-to-one. So I think there is some recovery of that, some optimization I will add there. And then I would also say like this month, we had a special meeting for civil service. We have gotten more and more requests from different, from our different bargaining units, a lot of questions about classifications. And so I think this is something that was planned, but is also preemptive as we're sort of living in a different world of work and some of the expectations around review and the compression that happened. So I just wanted to offer that from civil service and my past experience. Thanks.
Good. All right. Any other questions? All right. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those same time. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next item on the agenda is our warrant report and small claims report for the first quarter of 2023. Mr. Comptroller.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the warrant report for the period of April 26th through May 9th, the city released cash payments totaling approximately $19.7 million. This includes $4.8 million for employee payroll expense and just over $951,000 for income tax warrants. In terms of quantity, that equated to 6,263 income tax refunds being issued and 1,197 accounts payable checks and electronic payments being dispersed. And as always, the details of those individual payments are contained on the following pages. The second report we have for you this morning is our quarterly small claims report. This report covers the first calendar year quarter of 2023. So January, February, March, and it just details the number and amounts of claims paid during that period. So for the first quarter, the city paid out a total of 27 small claims, totaling $31,950. And the details of those individual claims are also included in this report.
Very good. Colleagues, questions for the Comptroller? All right, hearing none. That report will be received and filed. And the last item on our agenda this morning is our Treasurer's Report for the period of April 27, 2023 through May 9, 2023. Mr. Bolt, good morning, sir.
Good morning. The Treasurer's Office is following a few different trends. First is that top-line inflation remains far too high, over double the Fed's target of 2%. And the Fed's number one goal is to bring that back in line. Some of that inflation is due to onshoring, nearshoring, friendshoring, pick your favorite euphemism, essentially a slow deglobalization trend in response to supply chain and geopolitical issues, as well as demographics, as well as some corrections in long-term labor market as a share of corporate revenues. Some disinflation is evident in top-line numbers. However, when you drill down, some of the recent price declines are concentrated in a few areas, such as housing and used cars, and that winds up masking some of the underlying problems. Inflation on goods and housing services has generally been brought to heel, but inflation in core non-housing services is sticky. Seems to be driven mostly by wages. Much of it is driven by long-term inflation-adjusted wage declines in industries particularly hard hit by the pandemic. So there's some making up of lost ground involved with that. Second, the Fed has obviously been raising rates fairly aggressively over the course of the last year approximately. The market assesses that there's roughly an 80% as of this morning likelihood that the Fed will hold rates steady at its next meeting in June. However, several members of the Federal Open Market Committee have made comments suggesting that another hike may be in order in June. So what we're seeing is that there is a growing divergence between market-based projections and those from the Fed itself. Now, whenever the Fed increases rates, commercial banks do struggle. We've seen some bank failures. You can make a reasonable argument that some of those banks, chief among them Silicon Valley Bank and Signature of New York, as well as Credit Suisse, deserved to go under based on gross mismanagement. However, one of the more recent ones, First Republic, failed, and by all appearances, it was otherwise a well-managed bank that was simply affected by the contagion from the others. That's obviously something that the FDIC and the Fed are struggling mightily to contain. And it seems that they've been relatively successful thus far in containing that. Whether that continues remains to be seen. Finally, there's a risk wholly outside those economic facts that does pose a risk not only to the broader economy but specifically to our portfolio, and that is the possibility of a debt default due to congressional inaction on the debt ceiling. It's important to emphasize that this is political in nature. It is not economic. It's based on decisions made in Washington, D.C., and that there is a low likelihood of default. However, as of last week, based on credit default swap pricing, the market assessed roughly a 4% likelihood that the U.S. does default in June. A federal default would essentially throw bond markets into chaos, a position where there's no place to hide for the portfolio. The Treasurer's Office's ability to limit any damage to the portfolio is roughly akin to trying to put out a forest fire with a garden hose. There's nothing we can do, or very little we can do. In addition, from a broader economic standpoint, the big risk is not so much a slight delay in holders of U.S. debt getting paid, but rather the impact on the U.S. dollar, which is the basis of all global trade. So, as you know, the dollar is a fiat currency. It's based on the full faith and credit of the U.S. government. Well, if the U.S. government turns out to not have very good credit, that could be an issue. So that's something we're obviously watching very closely. Certainly encourage everybody in this room, call your senator, call your representative, make sure that cooler heads prevail. And with that, that concludes my report. If you have any questions about that or any part of the portfolio, I'd be happy to answer them.
Very good. Colleagues, any questions for our Deputy Treasurer, Mr. Bolt? Thank you for that report, sir. Appreciate you joining us this morning. And with that, we will conclude the Fiscal Committee meeting at 8:57. Thank you, everyone.
Economic Development Committee begins right now. Our first agenda is a resolution approving the change of date for a fireworks discharge permit to FFP Effects, Inc. for indoor special effects at the Van Dander Arena in connection with the Morgan Wallen concert event from April 27, 2023 to June 27, 2023.
So moved.
Support.
Okay. Good morning, sir.
Morning. Oh, it is on. Okay. The green light was on, but I couldn't hear myself. Anyway, right now, I haven't heard of a future delay, but it sounds like he's still having some medical issues with his voice. But everything's the same as the last time, except they reduced the amount of pyrotechnic effects by 10 effects, so now we're down to 470.
I'm not going there.
So what does that 470 mean?
That's 470 pyro hits.
Okay.
In other words, gerbs. I think there's 97 of those. Yeah, I've got a whole list. If you'd like to see it. It's pretty enveloped here.
No, as long as the building don't catch a fire, we're good.
That's what I'm here for.
Colleagues, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it. Next resolution is a resolution approving a fireworks discharge permit to Image SFX for indoor special effects at Van Dander Arena in connection with Nickelback concert on June 16, 2023.
So moved.
Support. Okay, much more tame. There's only 67 hits.
Okay, that makes it even much more safer, correct?
That's right.
All right. Colleagues, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Resolution number 3, resolution authorizing the change of maintenance jurisdiction and control of Kent County Drain Commissioners Reed Barlow Drain to the city of Grand Rapids.
So moved.
Support.
Go right ahead, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners, staff. My name is Dan Tabor. I'm a project engineer within Environmental Services. And presented here before you today is the changing of a Kent County drain, the Reeds Barlow drain, to a city storm sewer system. The Reeds Barlow drain is located up at the former Highlands Golf Course. And as you may recall, last year we did a whole daylighting system where we changed a traditional gray storm sewer pipe and we changed it to an open channel natural system to create environmental resources and recreational opportunities. So this changing of ownership is directly tied to that project. So under the current jurisdiction, it is under the jurisdiction of the Kent County Drain Commissioner, but we still do the maintenance and pay for it. So we're asking for ownership of that drain just so it becomes entirely a city asset, and then we can control how it's maintained and some of the features and things of that nature with no longer the overhead and cost of association with the Kent County Drain Commissioner.
Good. Colleagues, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it.
Thank you.
Resolution number 4, resolution for collaborative effect with MDOT for a new mural of MDOT infrastructure underneath and immediately adjacent to the underpath of I-196 at Division Avenue.
So moved.
Support.
Okay.
Hello, Commissioners. Hi, James. How are you? Just want to say hi to you, sir. So this is a new item for our commission. The Michigan Department of Transportation, if someone wants to do a mural on their property, MDOT requires an agreement between that city or municipality or a educational institution. And so what this would allow is a mural to be installed underneath the underpass of I-196 and Division Avenue, right here in the downtown area. The city would have a separate agreement with another party to maintain and install that mural, but ultimately the city would be responsible for it. But we're going to put things in place where there's lots of things that have to happen before the city needs to repair that. the intention is also is that that mural that would be installed, there would be some type of understanding on when it's no longer maintained, it will be put back to the normal color that MDOT paints. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
So, Mr. King, what would the mural be of?
Some partners have been thinking of some ideas. Right now, they're solid block colors, but there's an arts advisory committee. There's a city commission policy that speaks towards that, where the city commission says that the city manager is most expert to decide some of these questions around art in our city. And so the Arts Advisory Committee advises the city manager and make a recommendation to him regarding that. And so, you know, the content of the mural, the maintenance of the mural, all of that will go through the Arts Advisory Committee, and then they'll make a recommendation to the city manager. So that's our normal process for many things. So art that's temporarily installed for Art Prize, art that's on our park buildings, art that's on our parking structures, those things all go through the Arts Advisory Committee.
Any questions, colleagues? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it.
Thank you for bringing art to the city.
Thank you. Number 5, resolution confirming a special assessment nuisance roll number 8776.
So moved.
Support.
Go right ahead, Ms. Johnson.
Good morning. My name is Paula Jastifer. I'm the city assessor. And at the direction of the City Commission order from January 4th of this year, the assessor's office prepared the special assessment nuisance roll 8776, comprised of unpaid lienable charges for services or code violations due and payable to the City of Grand Rapids from July 1st through December 31st of 2022. Property owners were sent notices on March 16th that notified of the charge and the appeal process. The special assessment roll was open to the public for public inspection for the minimum of 2 weeks, starting March 16th and continuing through April 25th of 2023. In addition, we've also posted that to the city website. The City Commission convened to hear appeals on April 25th of this year. We had a total of 7 appeals on 4 different properties, and the city assessor and the city attorney's office reviewed the appeals with the departments where the charges originated. Upon review of these cases, it's confirmed that the city acted with full transparency, followed all appropriate procedures dictated by city ordinances. So I am requesting that you confirm the special assessment nuisance roll in the amount of $387,125.10 and authorize the city treasurer to place these charges on the summer tax statements, July 1st.
Questions for my colleague?
So just a couple of questions. I remember when this first came up, and I had looked through that whole list of names that were on there and found a couple that I knew, and these people own these properties, but they didn't live there, and so the letters never got to them, and they didn't even know they owed, so I told them, and they paid it and took care of it. And part of my questioning is, and it's not really a question for you, it's just a statement, is that sometimes, you know, we post things on the city website where people typically don't go to just peruse for the day, right? And then it's really trying to make sure that people have access to really get the information. So these particular homeowners never got the letter. It went to the house, and so whoever was living there just chucked them. Now, when they ended up going to the house, the people said, well, yeah, they came, but we didn't know who it was for, so we didn't really do anything or say anything. So I'm glad they were able to get that resolved, but I just wonder if we really do our due diligence and making sure we know that the actual owner of the home is the one getting it and not the person that may be renting it. You know what I mean? And then, so you said this goes on there, on the taxes, so the property owner's taxes, that money goes back to them for not handling whatever those cases are. I noticed on there also that there were a lot of the same names on there. And so is there a correlation now between what they may owe in property taxes with this extra being added on there? Do you know what I mean? No.
There were repeated names that were on that list, right? And I'm wondering if they're actually the actual property owner, if it's somebody else. And if they're the ones getting, if it's going on the taxes of the property owner, what happens then, right? Because I would assume that, I mean, this is a lot of money, not saying this is all going on one person, but it's still a lot of money.
It goes to the owner of the property. So it doesn't matter who lives there. The charges are assessed to the owner of the property, and then the charges are put on their summer tax statement.
And then what happens after that? Like, how long before their property taxes then get to a place where they're not paid?
So taxes are levied July 1st and due July 31st. And then after that, if they're not paid, then penalties and interest are applied. And eventually, if they go unpaid, then those are turned over to the county treasurer for collection.
Okay, thank you.
Did I answer all your questions?
Yeah, I always have more, but it's okay.
Just clarification, I think it actually goes to that parcel number. So if you own, let's say you have 5 parcels, so it'll go on all of those tax different ones. So it's not just to that one person, it's that parcel number.
They may own multiple properties as well.
Because I think you asked if someone had multiples, so it would be on that tax bill. So it'd be a line, like on your tax bill, when you have all those things from all the different taxing authorities, then there would be, this nuisance would be listed there as well, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Commissioner Drew? All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it. Resolution number 6, resolution setting June 13, 2023 as a date to consider an ordinance rezoning of 1323, AKA 1301 Cedar Street Northeast to Special District Plan Redevelopment District to facilitate the expansion of Ronald McDonald House Charities, West Michigan.
So
Support.
Okay. Mrs. Zeller.
Good morning. I'm Elizabeth Zeller. I'm a planning supervisor in the planning department here on behalf of Kristen Turkelson, who had a medical appointment. So today, Ronald McDonald Charities of West Michigan, it desires to expand their facility at 1323 Cedar Street to provide additional lodging for families needing medical services in Grand Rapids. They propose to renovate the barn-style building on the property by adding 8 new guest suites and staff offices, as well as constructing a garage addition. The property is zoned neighborhood office service, and that zone district does not permit lodging, which this use would be considered. So to facilitate the expansion of this use, we're proposing that the property be rezoning to a planned redevelopment district, and that would allow Ronald McDonald House to operate as they have been, as well as allow their expansion. When the matter went to the Planning Commission on April 27th, the Planning Commission did recommend approval of this request. They also incorporated a condition that would allow further expansion of guest suites within the facility as long as it doesn't expand beyond the existing footprint.
Let's keep Ronald McDonald House alive. Colleagues, any questions?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Resolution, gotta stop laughing behind that. Resolution number 7, approving an option agreement and the eventual sale of 935, 957 Kalamazoo Avenue Southeast, 1015 Thomas Street Southeast, and 943 Dunham Street Southeast pursuant to City Commission Policy 900-63.
So moved.
Support.
Mr. Gracia.
Good morning, Commissioners, staff. So this is the resolution approving the sale of those 4 vacant properties, an option agreement for eventual sale of these 4 vacant properties to Habitat for Humanity of Kent County. As you recall, last June, the City Commission approved that new disposition of City of Grand Rapids owned real property, and we followed that protocol to make these properties available. And again, because they're all vacant properties and because there has been no interest in this, it does fall into the third category, which means properties for sale to anyone to submit a viable proposal for any housing development project that are prioritized in order for affordable housing, home ownership, local ownership, and emerging developers. So they've been sitting there a little less than a year, I mean, under the new policy, but have been there a little longer. And so again, we put these out available, and again, we received inquiry from these 4 properties, again, at 935 Kalamazoo, 957 Kalamazoo, 943 Dunham, and 1015 Thomas. It's important to note, with the assistance of community development, has provided home investment funds for these particular projects from fiscal year 23 and 24. Those home funds are supporting 5 total homes, 2 of which are the subject of today's options, which is 935 and 957 Kalamazoo. If approved, the Habitat will have an exclusive option to purchase these properties for a period of 12 months, with the possibility of an option to period extend of 6 additional months, showing actual progress toward commitments of the project. And again, it's important to note that the closing and transfer of the properties will not occur until Habitat demonstrates the financial capacity and provides additional details of the site and building plans for the proposed projects. So staff recommends approval of the resolution.
So, Mr. Guasha, these properties were once held by the Michigan State Land Bank?
They were. They are currently, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Colleagues, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Resolution number 8, resolution approving an agreement with MDOT for improvements in Turner Avenue from 4th Street to Ann Street and authorizing $1,552,430 for the local share of project costs.
So moved.
Support.
Mr. Bergman.
Good morning, Commissioners. So this project will mill and resurface portions of Turner Avenue. We've also been working with Mobile GR to develop and install, as part of this project, a 2-way cycle track from 4th Street to Richmond, and then bike lanes north of there from Richmond to Ann. So overall, about 1.5 miles of new bike facility that'll be installed as part of this project. The total project cost is approximately $2.4 million, and it's being funded in part through a Surface Transportation Program grant of $394,000, and then also a carbon reduction grant specifically geared towards the bike infrastructure in the amount of $493,000. So the project, given that those 2 funding sources, will be administered through MDOT, and bids are due on June 2nd. So we're asking for your approval of the agreement with MDOT, and then also the authorization of our local share of the project costs in that amount of $1,552,430. That will come from the Vital Streets and the Parking Systems funds, and we anticipate construction later this summer.
Very good. Colleagues, any questions? All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it. Resolution number 9, resolution scheduling a public hearing for June 13, 2023 to consider a brownfield amendment for the Next Step redevelopment project at 101 Garden Street Southeast.
So moved.
Support.
Mr. Garcia.
Yes, so this resolution, again, is setting the date of June 13th for this public hearing for the Brownfield Plan Amendment located at 101 Garden Street Southeast. The property is just over 1.6 acres and currently has 2 vacant structures, a 2-story structure at 101 Garden, and the developer plans to rehabilitate the existing structure into a new ground floor retail space along with workforce housing on the 2nd floor. The additional components of this development also include the construction of 17 tiny homes and 2 single-family homes with a total investment to be approximately $3.2 million. In support of this project, the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority is considering support of just over $1 million for brownfield eligible activities, including environmental assessment, site preparation, demolition, lead, asbestos, and mold abatement, infrastructure improvements, and vapor mitigation. And again, we also provide a $400,000 loan from the local Brownfield Revolving Fund to support the project, with the remainder of the eligible activity costs reimbursed over an 18-year period, which then the LBRF loan will be repaid. So as I mentioned earlier, you got 17 tiny homes and the 2 single families, plus an additional 10 apartments on the second floor of the existing structure. And we provided the number of units, the estimated housing affordability, the average rent, the number of bedrooms in square feet for your reference in the memo, for a breakdown of that. It's also important to note that to help consider this, the planned redevelopment district was recommended by the City Commission after the Planning Commission on September 8th, 2022, and the City Commission approved on October 18th, 2022. So again, we'll set this public hearing on June 13th, and just of note, we anticipate immediately following that public hearing that a resolution will be introduced to approve the Brownfield Plan Amendment to allow subsequent approvals at the June 28th Brownfield Redevelopment Authority that will set in motion and construction to commence as soon as possible for the applicant.
Mr. Garcia, who's building these homes again?
Yeah, so it's going to be Mel Trotter. It's a development of Next Step, but Mel Trotter Ministries is kind of doing the workforce housing, but Next Step is kind of taking the lead on that. Next Step of West Michigan, I should say.
Colleagues, any questions?
I do have a quick question. I've been to this site and have visited, and this organization is doing some really cool work. Pending it, goes through. Do we have any idea of what the turnaround time will be for when everything will be complete?
I don't, but we will make sure that they are ready to discuss the timeline for construction and availability at the public hearing.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Resolution number 10, resolution accepting the sidewalk and utilities easement and authorizing a payment for $15,000 for the reconstruction of Eastern Avenue from Burton Street to Ardmore Street.
So moved.
Support.
Mr. Bergman.
So we've been working to acquire the necessary right-of-way to reconstruct this portion of Eastern between Burton and Ardmore. The project is anticipated to occur in the 2024 construction season and includes some work with the traffic signal and pedestrian crossing, specifically at the intersection of Burton and Eastern. So the property at the northwest corner of that intersection, which is 757 Burton, conveyed that sidewalk and utility easement to us for a total compensation amount of $15,000 based on an appraised value as well as a negotiated settlement with the owner. Seeking your acceptance of this easement and authorization of that $15,000 coming from the Vital Streets Fund. We still are working with one more property owner from which we need to secure the necessary property rights across the street at 803 Burton, and we anticipate bringing that back to you at a future date.
I appreciate all the work that's being done in that area. I ride through that area just about every day. And I know that with the traffic being somewhat discombobulated, I do believe the residents are happy that something is being done. So keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Colleagues, any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Resolution number 11, a resolution approving a professional service agreement with Dixon Engineering, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $250,000.
So moved.
Support.
Mr. Bergman.
So Dixon Engineering provides a specialized type of work that's critical to the evaluation and maintenance of our city's water tanks and other water and wastewater assets. When we issued an RFQ for our general term agreement, which is the Professional and Technical Engineering Services Agreement, Dixon responded as part of that process. They're the only firm, though, that has the ability to perform these services, and this is the only scope of services that they provide. So in order to facilitate effective delivery, we'd like to enter into an agreement specifically with them for as-needed professional engineering and inspection services to evaluate, maintain, and code our water and wastewater system assets. So asking for your approval of this resolution, which authorizes them for a 2-year period in an amount not to exceed $250,000. And that funding will come from the specific and appropriate project budgets as the services are required.
Colleagues, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. At this point in time, it is approximately 9:39. The Development Committee, the Community Development Committee at this point in time is adjourned. Thank you, sir.
morning, everyone, and welcome to our Committee of the Whole meeting. Today, we're going to kick off with a proclamation recognizing a number of our wonderful employees, and then we'll get into our action items. Commissioners, we do have an executive session, so I'll call for that vote at the end of our action items. And then we do have public safety today at 2, and then back here tonight at 7. So with that, I think I'll come down here. I'll ask, is James Hurt here? Ask him to come up. There's James. Ask him to come up. City Manager, you want to join me? Sure, ma'am. Bring the clan. Come on up. I know we recently recognized all of our public servants, but today we're gonna focus on our public works and the great work that they're doing day in and day out for our city. Fill in. That's right. All the tall guys in the back.
Say tall guys behind you. So
you just have to go to the microphone and say a few words.
Okay.
I will share this proclamation, then I'll turn it over to our city manager and then James Hurt as we come together today for to celebrate National Public Works Week. So this proclamation reads, whereas public works infrastructure, facilities, and services are of vital importance to sustainability and resilient communities and the public health, safety, and well-being of citizens and visitors of the city of Grand Rapids. And whereas such facilities and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of the city of Grand Rapids public works professionals who have responsibilities within facilities, fleet maintenance, forestry, engineering, parks, recycling, refuse collection, street maintenance, street lighting, traffic safety, drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater around the clock to ensure the health, safety, and quality of life in our community. And whereas it is the mission of all public works professionals to use sustainable solutions to bring their communities the highest possible quality of life within a framework of environmental, social, and economic responsibility. And whereas the year 2023 marks the 63rd annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now therefore I, Rosalind Bliss, Mayor of our amazing city, do hereby proclaim the week of May 21 through May 27 as National Public Works Week. And I encourage all of our citizens to remember our public works professionals and recognize the substantial contribution that they make to protecting our community. Give this to James. Go ahead, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to express my appreciation for the many employees who are here as well as who are not here because they are working and continuing to provide services for our community. And you used some very key words, and one was around the clock. And the services that are provided by Public Works, whether it's roads, infrastructure, or water, wastewater, are those that are depended on by our community 24/7, 365 days a year. And I am so proud and privileged to be able to serve with these dedicated employees to make sure that our quality of life continues at a high level here in Grand Rapids. So with that, I'd like to also recognize our Managing Services Director, James Hurt.
Thanks, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager. You kind of took my speech, but you did a good job. This is a great day. I really appreciate this week. It's important for the work that we do. You know, there's not a lot of recognition for folks who are out in the street every single day doing work to make this a great city. And I want to take an opportunity to just say thank you to these individuals that are here and the ones that are out in the street. They work hard every day to make sure this city runs. And just to give you a little background, the American Public Works Association is 30,000 members strong across this country. They keep cities running. They're in the background, they're doing the work, and I would be remiss if I don't recognize a campaign that the American Public Works Association did in terms of first responders, identifying public works as first responders. And this came out of George W. Bush from the 9/11 incident, and it's important. These folks right here, day in and day out, are out there making things happen in the city, and I'm very proud to work alongside them. So thank you, appreciate it. Thank you all.
We'll come in the well and we'll take a picture.
Well, if all of our colleagues stand up.
Right, everyone's the 18. See, I was working so hard to be in the back row. Look at you guys. I feel like we're there, right? We're close enough in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're good.
There.
If they can, I can see. She's gonna start it out.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thank you. All right, I trust you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay, we'll get to our action items then. Next before us is a resolution approving funding awards totaling over $4 million for affordable housing and services. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support?
All right, moved and supported. We have our Deputy City Manager, Ms. Kate Behrens, to tell us about, I think we have Kate, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I have on my list. DC Behrens. So Commissioners, this is an item that we've already talked about. We were briefed on the recommendations from the Affordable Housing Fund. They now come before us today for approval, and hopefully those dollars will be out the door as soon as possible because we know we need these projects started.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Commissioners, so you did receive a full briefing by our Chair Talon, and Ryan Kilpatrick, our Housing Group Leader, a couple weeks ago. Nothing has changed in the recommendation or the information we have at this time. We're looking for action on the resolution that would authorize us to then work with each of the recipients. There are both service awards, if you recall, and awards for capital construction. We would be working with each of those organizations to enter into a funding agreement. And then we will, the resolution also delegates to the mayor the ability to sign those funding agreements. So we would proceed that way. We will communicate, should the commission approve that resolution, we'll communicate to all of the recipients on next steps. But we'll start that process very quickly and hope to get the dollars out the door as fast as we can, using some of the same forms and processes that we currently use, some of the same recipients through the community development federal grant programs as well. So trying to keep that efficiency as well.
Great, thanks. Commissioners, questions and comments? Commissioner Isasi?
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Ms. Behrens. So I know when we set forth, and thank you for that presentation, I think that was helpful to kind of have that overview, especially with 3 new members. One of the things that we had talked about was really how do we support sort of new developers, first-time developers. I know in this we also need to prioritize things that are shovel-ready because we have people every week, and we all talking about all the time how to create more housing stock for this city and more affordability, not just, at all price points. So can you talk a little bit about, how do we balance the multiple priorities? Because I don't want people to think that we have forgotten that. We just have to sort of prioritize that priority list. And so maybe talk about how that might look, what are the things that we learned as we go into this next cycle?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. And we are doing more outreach as well. So this RFP number 1, as Commissioner Isasi just talked about, is partially or was fully funded by ARPA dollars. So there was some timelines associated with those. The outcomes that we saw and that we are recommending here largely fill gaps in capital projects that have been around that we are all aware of and that really are just looking for that last component of dollars to get shovels in the ground. And that was sort of expected for this particular RFP, but did tend to then keep unfunded some projects that are just now getting off the ground, whether they be emerging developers or new projects that have just gotten their property under control and are the next projects in the pipeline. And we are thinking about that for future RFPs. So part of what we're doing is sending out surveys to emerging developers and all folks who applied in RFP number 1, particularly focused on emerging developers, asking them what kind of support, as we think about funds that have fewer restrictions on them than this pot of money did, how can we incorporate that into future RFPs and really uniquely support emerging developers in a way that more flexible funding might allow the board to do and recommend to the commission to do. So certainly have not lost sight of the big picture, and there are a lot of objectives in the big picture for this board, and we're gathering information now to position the board to go forward with RFPs that would strike the balance somewhat differently.
Thank you. All right, any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. All right, next that will take us to a resolution recommending approval by the Michigan Liquor Control Commission of social district permit applications pursuant to Public Act 124 of 2020.
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. City Clerk, you want to tell us about this item?
We have 3 that are looking to go into the downtown, the downtown district. One of them is Nagoya Japanese at 16 Monroe, Monsoon at 55 Monroe, and and then Soho Sushi at 56 to 58 Monroe Center.
Great, thanks. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. All right, next that will take us to our 3 big items before us today. The very first one is related to setting our property tax millage, and then we'll look at fees, and then we'll talk about adopting our budget. So, City Manager, you want me to do, is the presentation for all 3 of these?
Yes, Ms. Claren is prepared to give an overview on all 3 items before we have discussion.
Okay, why don't I do the resolution and get it on the floor, and then we'll do the presentation. So can I get a motion for the resolution establishing the 2023 property tax millage?
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. So we'll go through the presentation, then we'll take each item individually.
Great. Good morning, Commissioners. Just to remind you and the public, here's been our process. Over the past month, we've been going through a series of work sessions in each of the various strategic priority areas of our budget. Here we are today at Commission adoption, and our fiscal year begins on July 1st. As we've shown you before, these are our property tax millage rates proposed for 2023, which would be our fiscal year 24 budget. The only item that I would say of note would be the increase in the refuse millage of 0.2 mils related to our Clean Community Initiative. Again, our service provision fees, since our public hearings we've had last week, I haven't received any follow-up comments or questions on what we are proposing across our various areas. So there's that. This is just, again, you've seen the slide last week, more detail on what each of those categories, what's happening in each of them. And of course, I'll highlight again the 25 new fees we are doing for this year across Parks and Rec, special events, and refuse. And then finally, we land at our total citywide appropriations. After adjustments, you'll see it's slightly increased by $400,000. We detail that out more in our memo attached to the item. The general fund also, that's actually down by around $50,000, but our total general fund appropriation at just under $179 million. And that's what's going on. So
All right.
if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Claren. I think I'll start, and maybe we'll ask questions specifically about each item. So we'll go through the millage, the fees, and then we'll talk about the budget. But thank you for that overview. So the first item that's on the floor right now is the resolution establishing the property tax millage. Commissioners, any questions or comments about that item? Commissioner O'Connor?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So I'm excited about the clean initiative from the city. I know that, I think just a little bit, one more time explanation of we're authorized to 2.6. We currently charge 1.6. We're just bumping it 0.2. What's the total revenue capture that 0.2 mils will be for the city? And then what does that equate to for a resident?
Let me see if my deputy has that handy. What? 1.1
Million.
But what's the, do you want the dollar equivalent? Is what you
1.1
want?
million or
1.1 million.
1.1 million, yes,
And that's going to go to improving the cleanliness outcomes in our
absolutely.
neighborhoods
Yep.
and neighborhood business districts.
Yeah, it's specifically 3 positions, and then I've detailed in the email to y'all this morning, I think, again, just what all that covers.
Ms. Claren, can you just repeat that publicly so?
Oh, sure.
Not necessary
it's-
for me. This is,
Yeah.
I'm excited about this program. I know it's increasing the amount that's going to come out of, folks are going to have to pay, but I think it's an
Yeah.
important initiative to say this is we can modify this rate every year. It's a temporary increase to help with some very specific outcomes that are.
Sure,
right now.
we are adding 3 positions specifically to the budget to help with corridor cleanup, things like that. And then we also are adding the additional, informally, we call them dump days, but neighborhood cleanup days. We currently only offer 1, but now we're going to be able to offer an additional 1 should those neighborhoods choose to do that. And then it also leaves some space in there for more sustainable investments. I know that when we go out to bid for replacement of certain vehicles, we always look at alternative fuel. They're often more costly, so this gives us a little more space to make that more, to have the funds to be able to consider that as well, so.
And it'll also support our recycling program.
Yes.
Knowing that there's been fluctuations in cost based on commodities that tend to be very variable right now.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, other questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, next that will take us to a resolution approving fiscal year 2024 service provision fees, and these would go into effect on July 1. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
All right, moved and supported. Commissioners, any questions or comments about the fees? All right, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, and next that will take us to a motion for an ordinance to adopt our fiscal year 2024 city budget.
So moved.
All right, moved and supported. Commissioners, any questions or comments about the budget that's before us today? Commissioner O'Connor?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you again to the administration and the staff who worked on this. I know that this is, probably the single most important thing we do as an elected body is adopt a balanced budget that prioritizes our charter mandated services as well as additional services that support high quality living here in Grand Rapids. And, I'm really appreciative of the fact that we continue to make, given the uncertainty in the economy, have a healthy rainy day fund, healthy capital reserve fund that are to the commission levels across the board, which is, I think, the first time since I've been on the dais that all of them are to our mandated levels. And we continue to make smart investments in positive outcomes for residents. So I just appreciate the work of all the staff getting us to this point.
Thanks for saying that, and we know that that's absolutely essential to buffer any potential recession that we have. Other questions or comments, Commissioner Isasi?
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks, Ms. Claren, and I'll echo my colleagues' comments. We know that this work, you'll get a little bit of a break to kind of load all the information, right, so that we can be ready to go on July 1. But, and then really start planning for the next budget process. So just thinking about that this is not done haphazardly, it's done with a lot of intention. We have a lot of different controls in place. I think it's important to note that we are a healthy city in terms of our financial well-being. And I think it's a lot of the things that some of our predecessors did over the years to ensure that we can be in this good position. And I think some of the highlights continue to include certainly this Clean Community Initiative. I think it hits a lot of pieces of, things that neighborhoods have asked us. People, we continue to hear about public safety, when we feel like our space is clean and people want to be around it. Like, these are the investments that I would like to see us make, things that we can control as a city. I think there's a whole lot of things that we often hear, and we might even be frustrated with that at a federal or state or county level. But this budget is very much what we can control, hearing from community, also staying the course of our strategic plan. So while this is one step, we'll go into that mid-year review. We'll continue to hear, also just measure how we are meeting these goals. So there's a number of ways that we make sure we're on track, and this is just another one of those really important tools. I'm also really, happy to see the continued support of looking at investments and making sure they have equitable outcomes as it relates to all of our departments, not just in some departments, thinking about how we focus on climate change and adaptation. What are the things that we're doing with our large purchasing power? All these things matter, and we continue to hear from them. And so I just want to say thank you to all the city staff who spent a lot of time reviewing probably different budgets and versions and used a lot of red ink. We know that this is a very big lift, and I'm happy to sit here and approve this fourth budget for myself. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner. Other questions or comments? All right, well, I'll make a few comments. I too want to add my thanks to all the staff. As the Commissioner said, the budget is months in the making. By the time it gets to us, a lot of work has been done behind the scenes, and we all know that. And it starts with the work that we do around our retreat, setting the priorities, and then making sure that they're aligned with the city's strategic plan. And I was thinking about this last night, that this is I actually had to count twice. This is my 18th city budget around this table. And it's really interesting to think back over the last 18 years and think about the different financial positions that our city has been in, but also to see the evolution of the budget, not just the budget presentation, which I think City Manager, by the way, is probably one of the best. I think over the last couple of years, especially the actual budget book and the work that we do to make sure that there's good information available to the community that they can digest and fully understand has only improved over the last couple of years. So I really appreciate that. But, I was thinking back from times when I was a commissioner and Mayor Hartwell sat in the seat, and he would always say that the budget is rarely 100% exactly what we want. It's a compromise budget. That's how it should be. There are things that we may be very excited about, other things we probably wish we could fund more of, but the reality is that we have to make fiscally sound decisions, and sometimes even though issues are urgent, change is incremental, and I think sometimes we see that in the budget as well. But there are a lot of things in this budget that I'm proud of, that I'm excited to see move forward. I'm glad to see some additional funding to continue the work that we're doing with mental health co-response, to support our department, our police department, to recruit employees and the recruit class that we're doing in partnership with Grand Valley. But then I'm also really proud that we're investing in some large capital projects that our community has been asking for a very long time, whether that's the MLK Park Lodge or Plaza Roosevelt or the Roosevelt Park Lodge. There's a lot in this budget that I believe is going to have an impact, a real positive impact on our neighborhoods and the places that people love. So I'm happy to vote yes today in support of this budget, but I'm more excited to actually see things start moving. So that's one thing to adopt the budget. It's another thing to see the dollars spent and people to be able to see the impact of the decision that we make today. That to me is what I'm most excited about. So if there are no final questions or comments, I'll call the question. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, City Manager, any comments before I call for executive session?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Commissioners, for your work and time over the past few weeks as we've reviewed the various proposals around this year's budget. I too want to express my appreciation to the city staff who has worked very hard and diligently in bringing forward the best professional recommendations. And I concur with the mayor. There's often more challenges than there are funding, and that's those are tough choices we have to make, and we continue to evaluate both resources as well as issues, and looking forward to the continued implementation of the budget, but also continued discussion of some of the things that are not fully funded in the budget. We began the process on the public safety side to acquire land, but we have to figure out the process to actually build the fire stations and training centers that we need. And so those are continued conversation. And today I appreciate a very important step we took in allocation of the $5 million for the Affordable Housing Fund to specific projects. But we know we have even more need, and look forward to how we might gain more resources in prioritize spending as well as policy work to improve housing opportunity and housing choice. So again, I appreciate the work. I know that these votes are, I know by your diligence and the questions that you've asked, the time that you put in, that you two have taken this very seriously, and I appreciate the work and look forward to continued implementation.
Yeah, thanks, City Manager. All right, Commissioners, with that, I will call the question to go in executive session. We have 2 items before us today for executive session. One is to discuss pending litigation, and one is a legal opinion. So can I get a motion to go in executive session?
So moved.
All right, moved and supported. This is a voice vote. I'll start down here with Commissioner Perdue.
Yes.
Commissioner Isasi?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor?
Yes.
Commissioner Moody?
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
And Commissioner Knight?
Yes.
And I am a yes. City Attorney, are we in the law library?
No, we're in
601. All right, we'll meet you down in room 601. Thank you.
Such a crescendo.